Welcome to another Etheria restart video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. In today's video, guys, I want to go over some of the mistakes that I've made in the game. Some of the mistakes that kind of like bricked my account in a way or another. Now, not necessarily completely bricked my account, but definitely slowed my progression. And some of these things definitely have to do with what characters I've picked, what characters I've built. So hopefully this will help some of you guys out to avoid doing these mistakes, especially if you just recently started playing. If you started playing at around the same time with me, it's pretty hard to avoid these mistakes because maybe you've done them already. So firstly, I want to talk about the targeted summoning banner, okay? It's not something that I have in game at the moment to show you. This will only basically save some of the new players from doing the mistake. So what I've done, guys, I really prioritized in summoning as much as possible outside of the targeted banner, just to be able to get as many units as possible. And that's definitely the way you want to do it. The only problem is that I was missing basically, I think, 4 characters at that point, right? And I'm quickly going to show you who I was missing. I was actually missing Sanya, which you cannot select anyway from there. But I was missing Rilmocha. I was missing Klaus. I was missing Mia and Kloros, which I'm still missing today. But it was in between Klaus and Rilmocha, right? Now, I did play the beta, the last beta, a little bit. Probably not enough to get to the point where, you know what? Most of the damage dealers can get the job done in most of the content as long as you're matching the elemental affinity. So my whole kind of like idea was I need Rilmocha for Doki Doki Inferno. You can't do it without her. She's just too freaking important. And I feel like that's not just me. I feel like so many people kind of like fell into that trap thinking that Rilmocha is the only weapon against the forces of darkness from Doki Doki. So, of course, I went and picked Rilmocha because at that moment in time, Klaus was actually a very underrated character. Nobody was talking about Klaus. And I repeat, nobody was talking about Klaus. So that basically ended up being my very first big regret and mistake that I've done in Etheria Restart. I picked Rilmocha over Klaus. Now, you can definitely avoid this by summon, and you might be missing different units. I do think that on my account, I was very lucky with the pulls that I've got. I managed to get all of the LD units at that moment in time without having Shadow Sanya, but I got all of the rest. I got Lily, I got Mio, Messiah, Doki Doki, I got Heinrich, right? And I think that as long as you are missing Klaus and you have a Siada, you have a Rosa, you should 1,000,000% go for that freaking Klaus and ignore Rilmocha completely. While Rilmocha is great for Doki Doki and enables you to speed farm the dungeon more than any other character in the game, which, by the way, I got to a point now where it's not a problem for me because I got Klaus. But if even today I was missing Klaus, that was still going to be my biggest regret in Etheria Restart, not picking Klaus over Rilmocha. She's good in Doki Doki. She's not really good anywhere else to be like, oh my god, she's just so good, okay? Average damage, if we're comparing her with a Rosa or a Siada or a different unit, like even Hoyan, Messiah, etc. That's my very first big mistake, and I would strongly recommend you, do not pick Rilmocha over a Klaus. Hell, I would not pick Rilmocha over a Siada either. So if I would have Klaus and I'm on the targeted banner, I would pick Siada over Rilmocha. I would pick Rosa over Rilmocha. Just because I can still farm Doki Doki through slower, but then those units are definitely more effective in other content, like the Union boss, if we're talking about the Phantom Theater, if we're talking about the freaking Infinite Train that everybody hates, if we're talking about Amber Track, Anything Heroes, Ethernet Rally, those units, Siada, Rosa, are still 100% more effective than Rilmocha in all of this content. So Rilmocha only really shines in Doki Doki. You can use it in PvP too, but then you can use most of the damage dealers in PvP. So, leaving that first mistake, the second mistake, and this might come a bit surprisingly to some of you guys. I got Rosa. I love Rosa. Like, I love the design on Rosa. She looks really cool. So I decided to build her as my third damage dealer after Messiah and Deering. So I went in and I invested a lattice into her second and third skill. She's gonna be great in Aurora. She's gonna be great in a lot of content. While I definitely do not disagree with that, my mistake was prioritizing Rosa over Siada. So if you have both of them available, guys, I can guarantee you that you're going to gain more value from a Siada than from Rosa in pretty much all of the content, except content like the Union boss, maybe where Rosa most likely will perform a bit better, or maybe she won't. I haven't really compared them in there. But if we're talking about Aurora, if we're talking about Doki Doki, if we're talking about Amber Track, Ethernet Rally, etc., Siada is far superior, okay? And that's mainly because she has the ability to constantly use this third skill. She has the ability to land defense down, which Rosa doesn't. So bringing the decrease speed, I think, is easier to do than bringing in the defense down in a team that's pretty hard to build overall if you really gotta bring in the right characters. So Siada, not only that will help you farm Aurora and everything else faster than a Rosa, at least from my experience so far. If I'm comparing my Rosa, which has the third and the second skill maxed, with a Siada that did not even had the passive max during the last two acts, Siada was farming Aurora for me by 90 seconds faster than a Rosa, okay? With the exact same gear, so that brings me to the point where, hell, I regret building Rosa over Siada first, and not mainly because of the shadow prints, mainly because I've invested 8 lattice into Rosa when I could have done it into Siada. Now, not just that, but Siada will make a lot of the challenging content a walk in the park. So if we're talking about Amber Track, I know a lot of you guys struggled on this boss on normal. The final one right here in the Memory Abyss. Siada makes that a walk in the park. Now, Rosa was pretty good in there as well, but Siada, once again, is far superior to Rosa in this fight, and many other fights as well. So that is my second mistake. Now, if you guys will ever be in the same position where you have both Rosa and Siada available, I would strongly recommend you build Siada first, use the lattice into her passive and third skill, and I can guarantee you, you're not going to regret it, because she's just such an absolute beast. I think on one of the websites, she is like the top fragger, top damage dealer from the entire game, right? Because she can constantly proc that third skill. To me, it's just more the ability of her bringing in the defense down, which for Aurora, for example, makes it a perfect fit with Viper, because Viper already brings the decreased speed. I don't need Rosa in there. So Siada will speed up the run by a lot, okay? Which means that the boss won't enrage as much, which means that the run will be safer, and you're gonna have a much higher win rate. Now, if I'm not mistaken, she does have a chance to steal a buff with her basic skill, which, once again, can be helpful in Aurora. The main thing is that she's not really going to use the basic skill, only if you have a Lily and she will join in with the attack. Then she has a chance to steal the buff. If not, she's constantly going to spam this third skill, which has a very high damage output. That is my second mistake, guys. Now, the third mistake, once again, will have to do with character building, okay? And I'm going to talk about Mr. Holden right here. I got Holden. He's an amazing unit. Do not get me wrong. He's a very good unit. Good for PvP, good for PvE. But the problem with him is that he sucks in Aurora. And some of you guys might call me crazy. But the fact that he has this skill on a 4-turn cooldown is just not enough, okay? I can build him on Time Weave, I can give him the Witch, the Halloween shell, and he's still going to suck balls in Aurora. And that's mainly because he's not going to strip that immunity often enough, which means that it doesn't matter what damage dealer you're using, Rosa, Siada, or whatever, they're just not going to be able to land their debuffs, which overall will cause your team to fail way more often. Okay? So my mistake was building this guy over an SR unit that is just far superior to that unit in Aurora. And in a lot of other content, to be honest, because even though this is an SR unit, which makes it easier to build, especially in terms of lattice, he is far superior just for the simple fact that this skill is on a 3-turn cooldown, while the SSR's cooldown is a 4-turn cooldown. He brings decreased attack and decreased speed. I think decreased speed is far more important than the decreased resistance, because when you are going versus these bosses, you're kind of like already prepared with the right amount of accuracy, more or less. Your characters will still miss the debuff, you have that 10% chance, but Viper is far superior to Holden, especially in Aurora. Having the ability to counterattack and having the ability to counterattack with his third skill, which once again brings the strip, makes that cooldown even shorter. You give him a time weave, even better, right? So he is probably the only buff stripper that has some survivability and the ability to constantly take the debuffs down. I built my Heinrich too. He was one of the very first few units that I 6-starred. I think he's a great unit with the block buffs, having the ability to strip. The problem is that his survivability sucks. If you're replacing a Viper or even a Holden with Heinrich in Aurora, most likely your team will get wrecked because you're not going to have the decreased attack. The minions will do a lot of damage. So that's why I'm saying that Viper is far superior to both Holden and Heinrich, at least in Aurora. Just having that ability to keep the immunity down, bring the decreased attack, bring the decreased speed, which makes it a perfect combo with Siada, which will definitely help to speed up your run in Aurora. And it is pretty important because the next mistake that I want to talk about will have to do with the 2x events and farming and stamina, energy slash, etc., right? Talking about the next mistake is saving way too much freaking stamina for the 2x events, not having the time to use it all, almost getting to the point where you feel burnt out during a 2x event. And instead of farming, using some of your freaking stamina during the other weeks while we do not have the 2x event, and basically slowing our progression because we could farm shells, we could just enhance our account, or just saving all of those freaking refills, waiting for the next 2x. So I know for a fact I will not be saving more than 6,000 energy for any of the 2x events. The main reason is that I'm not really farming investigation and GP outpost to just constantly go speedrunning. I've done probably around 1,500 stamina in the investigation, around the same or maybe more in the GP outpost, because I needed to get a lot of odd materials from here. And the rest went into dungeons. I've done probably 1,000, 1,500 into the Terrormaton. I've done tons and tons into Doki Doki, and that's mainly because it's my fastest dungeon at around 40 seconds per run. My Aurora was at around 3 minutes per run without a max Siada. Once I'm going to max her, that's going to be much better. My Viper only had the third skill max, not the passive, which that slowed down the run as well. But now, for the next 2x, I will be prepared a bit better, right? I build Holden instead of building other units, instead of building Viper, for example. My Viper is still not at 6-star, but I will get there by the next time I need to go ham on Aurora and Doki Doki. So if you know for a fact that you're not planning to farm investigation, you're not planning to farm the GP outpost, and you're only planning to farm dungeons, I would strongly recommend you do not try to save all of the freaking stamina in the world just for that event. Go and farm shells in the meantime. Go and upgrade your freaking account. I cannot tell you that how hard it is to get a good shell, okay? I've done probably, I don't even know, I've done 3,000 stamina only after the 2x in Nikonana. I haven't got shit from there. Not even one good shell, okay? Before that 3000 stamina in one day, I've probably done 10 to 15k stamina in Nikonana, and I have a couple of decent shells. Not even one good White Fang. Not even one, okay? So it's crazy, crazy hard to get good freaking shells, okay? So definitely don't break your account by doing some of these mistakes. Don't save too much stamina, because during a 2x, you're gonna end up in feeling burnout. I did not have all of the time in the world to stay non-stop next to my PC 24 hours every single day during the event and constantly click play again, play again, play again, play again, right? Which probably none of you guys have either. That was pretty much it, guys, for this video. I just wanted to share with you basically some of my regrets, some of the mistakes that I think slowed my progression the most. Now, for you guys, it might be a bit different. Maybe you've built different units instead of the ones that I've mentioned. But if you will have the opportunity to build the exact same units I did, think twice before you do it. And remember all of the reasons that I've just gave you throughout this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.